Welcome to this video where we will be installing the Oxford hot grips to a motorbike. And the motorbike in this example is going to be a Honda CB125F. Now in the box you get with the Oxford grips, you get a bag of nuts and bolts, you get some super glue, cable ties, a wiring harness which has a positive and negative connection for the battery, and a connection that goes to your controller, and the 5-amp blade fuse. It also comes with two grips, the right hand grip and the left hand grip. Note that the right hand grip is larger in diameter than the left hand. This is your throttle grip. It also has a bracket to mount the controller to your bike, and as you can see here, this bracket has already been fitted to the motorbike, as you can see here. Now I've mounted this right to the reservoir for the brake fluid for the front brake, and I can take this off quite easily with this bolt on the right hand side should I need to get to the reservoir to top it up in any way. I've just bolted it onto the top bolt of the handlebar clamp here, as you can see. Now it has been sprayed black. It is silver when you get it, but I prefer to paint it black so it blends in more with the bike itself. I've run the cable down the handlebars through an existing cable tie and followed existing cables which will lead down to the front of the petrol tank, which are then routed via some existing cable runs to the battery area. As you can see, it hasn't been connected yet. It's just ready to go. Now before you fit the new heated grips, we have to remove the existing grips from the motorbike. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can cut them off with a knife, which is the easy way, but I just tested to see how stuck on these were, and they are pretty solid on the bike that I've got. So what I decided to do was to heat up the rubber grips with a heat gun. I set the heat gun to 200 degrees C, and I heated up all the way around the grip to loosen off the glue that was sticking the grips. It takes a little bit of effort, but it's worthwhile just to save the grips rather than cutting them off, in my opinion. It takes a little bit more extra work, as you can see here, but stick with it and try not to cut it off with a knife, and you will be rewarded with one spare grip for your motorbike. So now it's time just to test fit the left hand grip to see if it fits on with it, no issues. And as you can see here, it fitted on perfectly, and it will look very nice when it's finished. You will have to make sure when you finally glue these to the handlebar that this part here, which is the cable exit from the grip, doesn't foul on any of your levers. Now we need to do the right hand grip, which is the throttle grip, and this is a lot more difficult. Now you can again cut this off with a knife if you wish, or you can use this method which I used to save the grip. And as you can see here, what it involves is rolling back the grip on the handlebar itself. And as you can see, it does move and it will eventually roll back, but it's just a lot more awkward than cutting it off with a knife. This process took probably about 10 to 15 minutes, but I was quite happy when the handlebar grip came off in one piece. As you can see here, just about does it, and you can see the little knurled parts there interlocking with the rubber of the grip. There is no glue on it, it just relies on this to stop it slipping. And as you can see, I'm unrolling this now to get it back into its original shape, and it will have saved another grip. So we've got a spare set of grips there, which would not have been saved if you had cut it off with a knife. And if you know anybody who needs a pair of grips, they could always use these ones, because I wouldn't want to be trying to remove the heated grips once I fit them on. because you have to modify this throttle barrel here to get the new grips on. As you can see, this process is a lot harder than just cutting them off with a knife, but it gives me a lot more satisfaction to know that I've taken the grips off and not damaged them and saved them for another day. So now it's time to do a bit of work on the knurls on the throttle here. As you can see, these little lumps which are all around the throttle are there to stop the grip slipping. But on the new Oxford heated grips, you don't need to have these on. So we have to first of all cut off all the plastic raised parts, as you can see here. And the way I did it, I used a Stanley knife and I cut them off first of all. And note, I didn't take the end part of the throttle off. The reason being is that's where the Oxford heated grips butt up against when you slide them on. I would suggest before you do the next stage, you put a cover over the motorbike, because this is a bit dusty and you'll get a load of rubbish coming off the plastic as you file it. So what you need to do now is file all the nodules sticking up so the handlebar is smooth and round. Now I used a file for this, and then I finished it off with some emery cloth just to make it nice and smooth. Now you might have to do this 1 or 2 times and try the handlebar heated grip on just to make sure it fits. Make sure you test where you're going to put the grip and that nothing is going to foul it, such as your brake lever. Try it in all positions. Once you're happy with the positioning of the heated grips, it's now time to do a test of the grips, because what you don't want to do is to get them all glued onto the handlebars and find out that you have an issue with the electrical system. So let's plug it all in and test it out. At this stage I thought it was a good idea to get the cable to the battery compartment. So I took off the panels off the motorbike and I threaded through the power supply cable which goes to the controller. And this is where I threaded it through. I followed the existing cable route down to the battery compartment, which is where I was going to cable tie the cables in the final position. So temporarily connect the negative to the negative of the battery, that is the black lead, and connect the cable which is red, which is the positive, to the positive side of the battery. Following this, we will be able to test the controller to make sure it works before we install the heated grips. Once you have started the heated grips, make sure they warm up and you are happy that they are working perfectly, and then we will move on to gluing the heated grips on. The Oxford heated grips comes with some glue, and this looks like super glue basically. So what I did, I pulled the handle grip halfway off, I put some of this glue inside the heated grip, and then I slid the grip on the handlebars. Now what you have to be very careful of is when you put the glue on the inside of the heated grip on the end, any excess glue when you push the handle grip on will leak out and go between the moving part and the non-moving part of the throttle, and you have to make sure that you don't get any super glue between the two, otherwise your throttle will be stuck. You have to make sure the throttle in exactly the right position and the heated grip in exactly the right position, and as you can see here, there is excess glue on the end of the throttle grip. What happened was the glue that I put inside the handle grip, when I pushed it on, the excess flowed out of the end and went between the throttle barrel and the grip itself. As you can see here, there's a liquid there. That is actually super glue. So I had to clear that away. So a word of warning, don't put too much glue on, it's not needed. And you can see the gap there, you don't need super glue in that gap, that's what will stick your throttle. I actually did put too much glue on, and I had to clear out the glue between the two parts, and I used a bit of paper between the two while the glue was still wet to soak up the excess super glue, otherwise my throttle would have been stuck. So please beware, that could be an issue. You then need to do exactly the same to the left hand handlebar. This one, the super glue getting into the throttle barrel is not an issue. Now I find the best position for this on the CB125F was the position you can see here with the Oxford facing forward. There is an Oxford symbol on the other side, and that was facing to the rear of the motorbike. And I've also lined up the heated grip to the end of the handlebar, and that should be pretty good. Wipe any excess glue that comes out at the end, and now we are ready for the electrical install. Now the electrical install, you're basically routing the wires down existing cables that are on the motorbike, utilizing any existing cable ties and fixings that you can. Now there are a couple of cable ties already on the handlebars. Use these existing cable ties to take your cables through, and once you have them from the handlebars all done, route them down through to this bracket here. Cable tie the cables together nice and neatly, as you can see here, and then all we have to deal with then is all the connectors here. Now my method probably isn't the most elegant method, but I cable tied the bunch of cables together, the connectors, and I cut the cable tie off. And then what I did, I wrapped all these connectors in a latex glove. And once the latex glove was wrapped around them, I cable tied it and I pushed this under the tank. This should protect them to some degree because these connectors aren't waterproof anyway. All that is remaining to do now is to route the controller power supply cable from the controller, which we've taken the same route as through the tank, and we're now going to clip that to the clutch cable as we're coming down. And once we get here, we just have this blade fuse, and the best possible solution I could find was to cable tie this to the battery bracket, as you can see here. And after another 10 minutes of cable tying and tidying up, this is what you should be left with. And I think for what we can do on this motorbike, it's as good as I can possibly want it to be. Now all we have to do is put the seat on the motorbike, and we are now ready to go. I hope you found this video interesting and informative, and if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.